The Babylon Bee is popular among Republicans as a proudly conservative version of The Onion. It plays pretty heavily to its audience, and the writers tend to stick to extremely simple jokes that don't rise to the level of satire you get from other publications. Except for the day of the Trump-Harris debate when they accidentally put out one of their funniest bits. Trump team reveals debate strategy. Trump will cede all time to Kamala and then quietly play with his Tamagotchi. By the end of the debate, conservatives were wishing this headline was real. Between the pet eating, the post-birth abortions, refusing to say he wants Ukraine to win the war, and trying to blame everyone else for what his own supporters did on January 6, this was a train wreck for Trump, with no Medicare-beating Biden to hide behind. And just to be clear, Republicans really do believe at least some version of those things. They don't want Haitian immigrants, even legal ones. They really do think Democrats are killing newborn babies. They at least want to end financial support for Ukraine, for some reason. And they still deny that any violence happened on January 6. What Republicans didn't like about the debate was the way Trump made all those things look bad. So how did this happen? The Babylon Bee is not ignorant of politics. They know full well what's going on and what Republicans want to have echoed back to them. Their problem is their formulaic writing and inability to craft proper satire. Some More News has a whole video about the Bee and why conservative humor in general doesn't work, and I'm going to borrow an example from them to help explain the Bee's writing style.
They have scores of articles mocking AOC for being childishly dumb. But that doesn't make any sense. What controversy there is around AOC has nothing to do with her intelligence. Voting present was a bit of a cowardly political move, as AOC herself has pointed out about others and herself. Maybe there's like a joke there, instead of her not knowing basic words. They're just calling her dumb because they don't like her, I guess, which is not very funny or offensive or edgy because there's no actual nerve it's hitting. But according to the editor-in-chief of the Bee, what I just said is actually the joke.
That clip is 2 years old, and the Bee never stopped with the AOC articles. Last year I think they finally realized they were wasting their time, so they got ChatGPT to write the articles for them. The page claims a new one is generated every time you refresh, but I think it stopped writing new articles and is just pulling from an archive now. I recorded 100,000 refreshes across several days, and my script stopped seeing new headlines after the first few hours. Still a pretty efficient way of getting 1,800 of the exact same joke about the same person. Maybe even too efficient, because AOC is not the only person this would work for. It feels like 90% of the Bee's content is just writing the same thing about the same person over and over again. They pick a Democrat, assign a single trait, and then write article after article satirizing the exact same thing. Joe Biden is senile and sleepy, but mostly senile. Senile, senile, sleepy, senile, something about golf, senile, senile. You get the point. Everything at the Bee is one-dimensional. No matter what real-world issue the headline is referencing, the writing always brings it back to whatever singular trait the Bee has assigned to that person. They wrote an article about AOC's condemnation of Israel, but still had to turn it into AOC being dumb instead of, say, explaining that Israel's actions do not amount to genocide. To be fair, the Bee does go after Republicans too. They wrote several articles about that time Mitch McConnell froze mid-sentence at a press conference, and a few about him being a turtle. This one would be funny if it was referencing the time McConnell said Donald Trump was responsible for the January 6th riot, said Trump needed to face consequences, but still voted not to convict him. Instead, it's just about all the old people in our government who stick around way too long, which I admit is a real problem, but they were so close to writing actual satire with this one. Trump's articles are an anomaly. They tend to be less about him and more about his opponents being bad people. The debate prep article is actually about Kamala being an alcoholic, one of several such articles in fact. This one is about big tech interfering in support of Democrats. Kamala is copying Trump's policies, the Secret Service are incompetent. This one is, I think, an existentialist piece about Trump derangement syndrome. Scientists claim the second Trump will destroy everything, and instead is just a second Trump, with 2 intact ears. And then a few articles about Trump being a political target, and every debate moderator ever being biased against him. Basically, the Bee knows their audience, and they won't criticize Trump, but they also don't really have anything positive to say about him either. Even this post-debate article highlighting Trump's one single bright spot where he called out Kamala for interrupting feels like it's mocking Trump's own supporters. Although I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be about everyone hating the way Kamala speaks, because they have several other articles about that. Remember how hard they went after McConnell? They at least had an article acknowledging that he handed Republicans control of the judicial system under a Democrat president. But I couldn't find anything positive about Trump, just negative things about Trump's opponents, including Trump's new opponent. It's a little bit scattered. I think the writers were caught off guard and are trying to figure out how to frame Kamala. In this one, they just have her quoting the Communist Manifesto. There's no joke in here, even by the Bee's standards. It's just Kamala declaring herself a socialist. Again. Before the switcheroo, Kamala's assigned trait was that nobody liked her. It matched with the wider Republican narrative at the time that Kamala's approval rating was so bad that if Biden stepped aside or croaked, Kamala would be an even easier win for Trump. That one got shattered pretty quickly once Biden handed her the nomination. Republicans could no longer ignore that Kamala actually had decent approval among Democrats, and then got a big bump just for not being one of the same two old guys who can't finish a sentence. There are two new narratives emerging now. The first is that Kamala slept her way to success. There are a lot of these articles, and they're all, once again, the same. This stems from Kamala's early history when she publicly dated Willie Brown. After they broke up, Brown became mayor, and several years later, Harris became district attorney. But you know Republicans will never pass up a chance to denigrate a successful minority, even if they have to make stuff up. The second narrative, and the one that led to the Bee's big blunder, is that Kamala is bad at talking. I think this one started with the laughing montage that Fox News came up with. It was also something Hillary got criticized for, and AOC actually. I'm beginning to think Republicans just don't like to see women laughing. Very weird. If you put all this stuff together, the mainstream media is mean to Trump, Kamala talks weird, and nobody likes her, you can see why Republicans were ready for another let Biden bury himself debate. And then they saw Kamala acting like a normal person, and instead, Trump's insane statements stole the spotlight. And now the Babylon Bee has gone into damage control, spamming out articles about how unfair the moderators were to Trump by not letting him lie as much.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking
television
it from the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
They called him on his post-birth abortion lie, and again on his immigrant-eating pets claim, which he brought up completely unprompted. Both of those were absolutely wild statements that deserved to be called out, and mocked, honestly. But the Babylon Bee writers fed it to their audience as another media assassination of their precious little boy. They also tried to refocus the immigration discussion on immigrants being murderers instead, which is gross. Immigrants don't commit violent crimes at higher rates, and countries are not shipping their criminals out to the US. I don't think there's any lesson to be learned here. I doubt the Bee is going to start treating Harris as a serious candidate, or start acknowledging that it's not the media bias making Trump look bad, just like they're still in full denial about AOC. But I really enjoyed coming across that headline right after catching up on the debate, and I wanted to share it, so there you go.